Hello my dear students, myself Dr. PITAMBAR HUMANE, founder Botany for You and working as Professor and Head Department of Botany, Dharampeth M Deo Memorial Science College, Nagpur, Maharashtra, India. I welcome you all in this online platform for the students of Life Sciences Botany for You. Friends, if you are new or not yet subscribed our YouTube channel, then kindly like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel Botany for You. If you want to associate with us through the Telegram group, then the link is given in the description. Through that you can join the Telegram group and can take the advantage of literature in a PDF form as well as career opportunities in life sciences in India and abroad. Friends, in our last lecture we have completed the two different unit of the Botany paper 1 of semester 3 prescribed by RTM Nagpur University, Nagpur. In today's class, we will see the different MCQ type of the questions based on the third unit of the same paper. So, first of all, let's see the syllabus of the third unit. As I told you that the first two units were based on the angiosperm systematics, third unit on the embryology and fourth unit on the indoor gardening. So, in this unit, that is in the embryology, we have the four different topics, of which the first one is pollination, which includes the types and significance. Second one, that is the anther, that is the TS of anther, microsporogenesis, structure of pollen grain and development of the male gametophyte. The third topic is on the ovule, that is the types of ovules, then structure of anatropous ovule, megasporogenesis, development of female gametophyte, that is the polygonum type of the development. Then the fourth topic include the fertilization, double fertilization and triple fusion, endosperm and its types, then structure of dicot embryo and monocot embryo. So, let's see the different 60 MCQ type of the questions based on these different topics of the embryology. And I am hopeful that all these questions will be helpful to you in preparation of your online examinations. Question number 1, that is, the double fertilization is characteristic feature of. If we see the double fertilization, it means that the utilization of the two male gametes in the same female gametophyte, and this is the characteristic feature of the angiosperm. Then the second one, that is, in angiosperms the endosperm is, earlier you might have studied the female gametophyte, that is the 7-celled and 8-nucleate structure, that is the 2 synergid, and the egg, that is the egg apparatus, presence of the 2 polar nuclei later on which fuse together forming the secondary nucleus, and presence of 3 antipodal cells. So, with this secondary nucleus, again one male gamete fuse, and this secondary nucleus is already diploid as it is developed from the fusion of the 2 central nuclei, and hence after the fusion of one male gamete with this the secondary nucleus which is already diploid, here there is a formation of a triploid condition which is developing from the triploid primary endosperm nucleus, and hence the endosperm is a triploid. Then porogamy is, if you see the entry of pollen tube inside the ovule, it is carried out in a different way or the manner, from the micropyle, from the integuments and from the chalaza, and on the basis of that there are the different types, that is the porogamy, mesogamy and chalazogamy. So, when we are talking about the porogamy, means the entry of pollen tube from the micropyle, and hence here the D become the correct answer for this question. If we see the A, that the entry of pollen tube into the ovule through the integuments, then it is known as the mesogamy. Then entry of pollen into ovule without pollen tube, this is not the angiosperm character, it is found in the gymnosperm, that the pollen grains are deposited in the pollen chamber. And when the entry of pollen tube through the chalazal end, then it is known as the chalazogamy. So in this way we can understand the three different types of the entry of the pollen tube inside the ovule. Then in angiosperms, the free nuclear divisions takes place during. If we see the different types of the endosperm, then the endosperms on the basis of its plane of the division are classified into three different types, that the cellular endosperm, nuclear endosperm, and third one is a halobial endosperm. These types are only on the basis of the plane of the division or the type of the division. So if we see this endosperm, that is the nuclear endosperm, there is pre-nuclear division, and hence during the formation of the endosperm there is a pre-nuclear division. Then fifth one, that the name of perisperm is given to. The perisperm is the name of the nucellus, and hence the remnant of nucellus is known as the perisperm. The double fertilization was discovered by, we have to remember such names of the different authors or the scientists who has discovered or invented the certain things. So if you see the discoverer of the double fertilization, then it is the Notion. After fertilization, the seed coat develops from, we know the structure of the ovule, that is the 7-celled and the 8-nucleate structure, that is the female gametophyte. Around it there are the presence of the nucellus, and around the nucellus there are the presence of the such type of the integuments, that is the two integuments are present in the angiosperm ovule. So if we see this ovule, that this ovule is converts into the seed after the maturation, and hence these integuments later on form the seed coat, and hence here the integuments are involved in the formation of the seed coat. The anther wall, in anther wall, so if you see the anther wall, the tapetum lies just inner to the endothecium, it is the wrong one. If you see the structure, we can easily identify this one. Then endothecium lies inner to the middle layer, this is also the wrong statement. Then the tapetum lies next to the epidermis, no, it is present towards the inner side. And the middle layer lies between the endothecium and the tapetum, and this is the correct statement with respect to the structure of anther or TS of the anther. Then fertilization is the process of, if you see the definition of the fertilization, then the fertilization is nothing but the fusion of male and the female gamete. It is also known as the syngamy, and hence the fusion of one male gamete with the egg, that is the female gamete, that is known as the fertilization. In flowering plants, meiosis occurs at the time of, we know that in the flower there are the presence of different floral holes, that is the calyx, corolla, androecium and the gynoecium. And the androecium and the gynoecium, which are the essential holes of the flower, which are involved in the sexual reproduction as per the definition of the flower. So inside this stamen or the anthers there is formation of the pollen grains, and inside the ovule or inside the ovary there is formation of the ovule or the megaspore, and during formation of the ovule or the during formation of the pollen grain there is a meiosis in the angiosperms. So if you see this one, then formation of pollen grain become the answer for this question. The transfer of pollen grains from anther to receptive stigma is known as. Means if here in the flower, when there is a formation of the pollen grains, it is transported to the stigma, and this process is known as the pollination, and hence A become the answer for this question. Which of the following type of cross pollination involves two species? So we have option, that is the autogamy, geitonogamy, xenogamy and the hybridization, of which the autogamy and geitonogamy are the type of self-pollination, and the xenogamy and hybridization, these are the type of cross-pollination. We have here asked that the cross-pollination means we have to choose the answer from the cross-pollination, and the another thing is given that involve the two species. If the same species is involved in the cross-pollination, then it is known as the xenogamy, and when the two species are involved in the cross-pollination, then it is a hybridization. So the answer becomes now the D, as here there is an involvement of the two species. Generative nucleus divides and forming. If you see the development of the male gametophyte, that is the germination of the pollen grain, which later on forms the pollen tube, and the generative nucleus transfer into the pollen tube, which divide into the two nuclei, which are later on forming the two non-motile male gametes in the angiosperms, and hence the generative nucleus is responsible for the formation of the two male gametes. Then one nucleus of pollen tube and secondary nucleus of the ovum grow into. It means that in a female gametophyte, after fusion of the two central nuclei with each other, there is formation of secondary nucleus. With this, again there is formation of one of the male gametes. So in this way, there is formation of triploid primary endosperm nucleus, which develops into the endosperm. It means that here there is a formation of endosperm when one nucleus of the pollen tube and the secondary nucleus of the ovum grow into. Now the functional megaspore in flowering plants develops into. Earlier you might have studied here that the monosporic, bisporic and tetrasporic type of the development of the ovule. So this ovule is nothing but the megaspore. It means that here all these three are responsible for the formation of the embryo sac, or it is also known as the female gametophyte. So it means that here the embryo sac become the answer for this question. Then which of the following is similar to autogamy but require pollinators? See, the xenogamy is cross-pollination, hybridization is cross-pollination, and autogamy is a self-pollination. So these two will not be the answer. In cleistogamy, the flowers are permanently closed, so there is no need of the pollinators, and hence remaining is the autogamy, and hence it is the answer. And autogamy means what? The transfer of pollen grain from one flower to another flower present on the same plant. Then which of the following statement is correct? First one, that is the sporogenous tissue is haploid. No, it is diploid. Then the hard outer layer of the pollen is called as intine. No, it is known as the exine. Then the tapetum nourishes the developing pollen grains, and it is the correct one. Then microspores are produced by the endothecium. No, it is by microspore mother cell, and hence C is the correct answer for this question. Rewards and attractions are required for. when you have to study the rewards and attraction for the pollinators, then you will find that there is a need of such type of the rewards and the attractions for the pollination for entomophilous plants. And hence for entomophily there is a need of the rewards and the attraction so that the insect can be attracted towards the flower for the transfer of the pollen grain from one plant to the another plant or from one flower to the another flower. A dioecious flowering plant prevents. Here there is an involvement of the two plants as it is a dioecious, because dioecious means the male plant and the female plant is different, means involvement of the two plant, it means that there will be the cross pollination. But the flowering plant prevent means it will prevent the self pollination. So it means that we know the autogamy and the geitonogamy are the type of the self pollination, and the xenogamy and the hybridization are the types of the cross pollination. And hence as it prevent the self pollination, it means that it will avoid the autogamy and geitonogamy, and hence C will be the correct answer for this question. Then what is meant by double fertilization? As I told you, utilization of the both male gametes in the same female gametophyte, means one male gamete fuse with the egg and another male gamete fuse with the secondary nucleus. So both these are the first one is the first fertilization and second one is the second fertilization, and hence it is known as the double fertilization. And hence the answer becomes C, that is both fusion between the egg and male gamete and the fusion between secondary nucleus and the remaining male gamete. Then of the two cells of zygote, the cell near to the micropyle is termed as. We see the structure of the ovule and development of the embryo from the zygote. Then after first division there is formation of the one apical cell and one basal cell, and the basal cell is always present towards the micropyle, and hence here B is the correct option for this question. When pollen tube enters through the funiculus or integument, then it is called as. Earlier we know that there are the different types: porogamy through the micropyle, then chalazogamy through the chalaza, isogamy is the fusion of gametes which are same, and mesogamy entry of the pollen tube in the ovule through either funiculus or the integuments. It means that D is the correct answer for this question. In post fertilization changes within ovule, the oospore forms. If you see the post fertilization changes mean after the fusion of male gamete with the egg and the fusion of second male gamete with the secondary nucleus. And here the ask oospore forms, and oospore means the zygote. And if we see the fate of the zygote, then zygote develops into embryo, and it means that the D will be the correct answer for this question. Then in post fertilization changes within ovule, the product of triple fusion. Product of triple fusion means the central nuclei, then another central nuclei fuse together forming the secondary nucleus. Secondary nucleus fuse with one male gamete and forming triploid primary endosperm nucleus. And this triploid primary endosperm nucleus develops into the endosperm, and hence C is correct answer for this question. Then which of the following forms the embryo? If you see the embryo, then the embryo forms from the fertilized egg or the ovum, means male gamete when fused with the female gamete, formation of the zygote, and hence C will be the correct answer for this question. In angiosperm ovule, number of integuments are. So we have to remember here, in angiosperm there are 2 integuments, and in gymnosperms there is one integument. So here in angiosperm there are the presence of the two integuments, means the ovules of the angiosperms are bitegamic, and in the gymnosperm they are the unitegamic. In angiosperm, pollination takes place at celled stage of pollen grain. Means when there is a formation of the pollen grain inside the pollen chamber in anthers, there is liberation of these pollen grains for the pollination. But even before that, there is a division of these pollen grains. And in angiosperm, there is two-celled stage condition when pollination takes place. And hence, the two-celled stage of the pollen grain is there in angiosperms when pollination takes place, while in the gymnosperm at the two-celled stage in Cycadopsida, three-celled stage at the Coniferopsida, and four-celled stage in the Natopsida. Then which of the following cells secretes enzyme to dissolve? The specific characteristic feature of the synergids is to secrete the enzyme to dissolve it, and hence C is correct answer for this question. Then ovule converts into which of the following after fertilization? As I told you, here the ovule after the maturity, it will convert into the seed, and hence B is the correct answer for this question. Then fruit is formed after fertilization by which of the following part? Ovule develops into seed and ovary develops or mature into the fruit, and hence from the ovary there is formation of the fruit. Then zygote divides first into basal cell and terminal cell. Which of these cell is present towards chalazal end? Earlier we have seen towards the micropylar end there is a presence of basal cell, and chalazal end is opposite end of the micropyle, and hence the terminal cell will be there towards the chalazal end. The portion of the embryonal axis was above the level of cotyledons, and this is known as the epicotyl. If you see the structure of the embryo, then you will find such type of the structure. So there is a cotyledons, then these are the cotyledons, that is the epicotyls, then hypocotyls, and this is the suspensor. So the epicotyl is present beyond the level of the cotyledon. Then the cotyledons in embryo is formed from, if you see the basal cell and the terminal cell, the basal cell is involved in the formation of the suspensor, and the terminal cell is involved in the formation of the cotyledons, and hence B is correct answer for this question. The portion below the epicotyl is, earlier we have seen in the diagram that the first one epicotyl, then hypocotyl, and then the suspensor. It means that below the epicotyl there is a part of the embryonic axis, and that is known as the hypocotyl. Then what is the another name of vegetative fertilization? Sexual fertilization is nothing but the fusion of egg with the male gamete. That is the first fertilization or the syngamy. But at the same time, the second male gamete fuse with the secondary nucleus, which is the result of triple fusion, and hence here the triple fusion become the answer, which is an example of the vegetative fertilization. In flowering plants, the pollen tube first arrive in, if we see the entry of pollen tube into the female gametophyte, not in the ovule, because in ovule we have seen the porogamy, chalazogamy, and the mesogamy. but inside the female gametophyte it enters through the synergid, and hence here the synergid become the answer for this question. Which of these mechanism does not leads to formation of clone? Clone means having the same characteristics. So vegetative reproduction will be responsible for the formation of the clone. Apomixis means without fertilization, again there is a formation of the same characteristic. Double fertilization is nothing but the fusion of male gamete and the female gamete, means the mixing of the characteristics, and hence it is not involved in the formation of the clone, and hence it is the answer. Even the tissue culture is also used for the formation of the clones. Then what does the phenomena called if the pollen tube enters the embryo sac through the base of the funiculus or the integuments? Earlier similar type of the question that already we have seen. When the pollen tube enter inside the ovule from the funiculus or the integument, then it is known as the mesogamy. The intine of pollen grain composed of. Here if we see the pollen grain, the outer wall is thick and the inner wall is thick and having the single nucleus which is haploid. So outer thick is the exine and inner one is the intine. So the exine is made up of sporopollenin and the intine is made up of cellulose and pectin, and hence B is the correct answer for this one, that the intine is made up of cellulose and the pectin. And the exine of pollen grain is made up of, as I told you, it is made up of the sporopollenin, and hence B is the correct answer for this question. Then pollination which occurs in closed flower is known as. If you see this phenomena, that is one of the attraction or rewards or the modification in the flower with respect to the self-pollination, that when the flowers are permanently closed, then there must be the self-pollination, and when the flowers are permanently closed, then it is known as the cleistogamy, and this type of the phenomena is very common in the Commelina bengalensis. Then the deposition of pollen on the stigma of another flower of the same plant. If you see the different type of the pollination, that self-pollination and cross-pollination. In self-pollination there is an involvement of the one plant, and here there is an involvement of more than one plant. If one flower is involved, then it is known as the autogamy, and when the different flowers are involved, then it is known as the geitonogamy. And in cross-pollination, when involvement of the one species, it is known as the xenogamy, and different species, then it is known as the hybridization. It means that our answer becomes geitonogamy, and hence C is the correct answer for this question. Self-pollination occurs between stamens and carpels of. Self-pollination means in the same flower or the different flower present on the same plant, means not only the same flower, not only the different flower, but the same flower or different flower of the same plant, and that is the self-pollination, and hence C is the correct answer for this question. If pollen of flower falls on the stigma of another flower belonging to the same plant, then it is known as same plant, means self-pollination. Same flower, autogamy. Different flower on the same plant, geitonogamy, and hence B is the correct answer as the different flower of the same plant. Then match the following pairs. So if you see the hybridization is a type of cross-pollination. Then autogamy is a type of self-pollination. Then pollen tube is a part of male gametophyte, while the egg apparatus is a part of female gametophyte, and in this way we can match the pairs correctly. The pollen kit is present in the pollen wall of. The pollen kit is a oily deposition which is present around the pollen grains which are transported with the help of insects, and hence such a type of the flowers which are pollinated with the help of insects, that is known as the entomophilous flowers. It helps in attaching or sticking the pollen grain to the body of the insects. Then wind pollinated plants differ from insect pollinated plants in honey. If we see the pollens which are transported with the help of wind, then it must be the light weighted. So whatever the present absence of the petals, it is not related with that of the anemophilous condition, but only the size or the weight of the pollen grain is important, and hence no petals and light pollen will be the correct answer for this question. Then pollination by bat is called as, if you see the pollination by birds, then it is known as the ornithophily. The pollination by means of insects, then it is entomophily. Then if it is by means of the snail or the slugs, then it is malacophily, and when by means of the bat, it is known as the chiropterophily, and hence pollination by bat is called as chiropterophily. Flowers are invariably autogamous as there is no chance of the cross pollination. If we see the heterostylous condition, there is a cross pollination. Clistogamy, the flowers are permanently closed and hence only self pollination. Homogamous, even there is a chances of the self pollination and cross pollination, and dichogamy, that is the cross pollination, and hence we have the only option that the self pollination will be only there in the clistogamous type of the flowers. Then which of the following statement is true? The pollination in between the same flower is known as not xenogamy, it is the autogamy, and hence it is the wrong statement. Number second, the pollination in between the different flowers of the same plant is known as the geitonogamy, and it is the correct one, and it is answer of the question. Then pollination in between the different flowers of the different plant is homogamy. No, it is the xenogamy, and hence B is the correct answer for this question. In some plants, the anthers and stigma grow and mature at the same time, because in the plants the male reproductive organs, that is the androecium and the gynoecium, either they mature at the same time or may mature at the different times. In certain cases the androecium mature before the gynoecium, or in some cases the gynoecium mature before the androecium. They are known as the protandrous condition and protogynous conditions respectively, and if they mature at the same time, then it is known as the homogamy, and when it is mature at different time, then it is known as the dichogamy. The fusion of male gamete and female gamete is the syngamy, that is the fertilization, and when flowers are permanently closed, it is known as the clistogamy, and hence the correct answer for this question will be C. The type of pollination that brings genetically different type of the pollen grains to the stigma of the plant is called as. So there must be the involvement of the two plants in the pollination for genetic diversity. If you see the geitonogamy, there is a self pollination. Chasmogamy, either there is a self pollination or the cross pollination. In a chasmogamy, there is an maturation of the androecium and the gynoecium at the same time, but even there is a chance of the self pollination or the cross pollination, and in autogamy there is a self pollination, and hence here only in the xenogamy there will be the cross pollination, and hence B is the correct answer for this question. Then which of the following character causes cross pollination? First one, clistogamy, self pollination; dichogamy, cross pollination; homogamy, self pollination. So the dichogamy, in which the androecium and the gynoecium mature at the different time, hence they prefer the cross pollination instead of the self pollination, and hence B is the correct answer for this question. A typical angiosperms embryo sac at maturity is, earlier in 12th class also you might have studied this one, that the embryo sac contain the 2 synergids, then 1 egg in between it, that is the 3 cells, then 3 cells to the lower side, that is the chalazal end, antipodals, and the 2 central nuclei. So if we count the total number of cell, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, so 7 celled, and total nuclei 3 nuclei plus 2 nuclei plus 3 nuclei, total 8, so 8 nucleated, and hence 7 celled and 8 nucleate embryo sac is very common or typical in the angiosperm. Then which of the following statements regarding post-fertilization development in flowering plants is incorrect? That the megaspore develops into embryo sac, ovary develops into fruit, zygote develops into embryo, and central cell develops into the endosperm. So if we see the megaspore, so in a megaspore it is not directly develops into the embryo sac, as the embryo sac is develops inside the megaspore or the ovule, and hence it is the incorrect statement. In which of the following type of autogamy and geitonogamy is prevented? Autogamy and geitonogamy both are the types of self-pollination. So homogamous flower, self-pollination; clistogamous flower, self-pollination; monoecious plants, self-pollination; and dioecious are the cross-pollination, and hence the self-pollination will be prevented or will not be possible in the dioecious plant. Then attractants and rewards are required for. We have seen earlier that whenever we are talking about the attraction and the rewards, there is a need for attraction of the insects towards the plant, and hence here entomophily will be the correct answer for this question. Then the body of ovule is very much curved, that the embryo sac and the ovule itself take the shape of horseshoe is called as. So such a type of the condition in the ovule, and that is known as the amphitropous type of the ovule. Then the body of ovule, when it is at right angle in relation to the funicle, so it looks like the ovule is lying on its side. So if you see the ovule, such a type of the condition, then here there is a presence of heteranotropous ovule, and hence B is the correct answer for this question. When the ovule is completely inverted so that the micropyle lies close to the hilum is called as. So such a type of the condition of the ovule, that is known as the anotropous ovule. So the B will be correct answer for this question. Friends, I am very much hopeful and confident that all these questions will be helpful to you in preparation of the online examinations as well as different competitive examinations related to the life sciences. Thank you very much for watching this lecture completely. If you like this lecture and if it is beneficial to you, then kindly like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel Botany for You, and also press bell icon for the alerts of every lecture to be uploaded on different life sciences titles. And don't forget to join our Telegram group with the link given in the description, so that you can take the advantage of the different literature assistance as well as the career opportunities in life sciences in India and abroad. Thanks a lot once again.